That day, what happened with my stepbrother changed everything. It was a moment I did not expect when we slept together in the same bed, something that started with caresses and finally awakened intense sensations. Stay until the end to know this story. So make yourself comfortable, and we invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the little bell so you don't miss any video. What happened with my stepbrother changed everything. I've repeated that phrase 1,000 times in my head since that night, but there's no simple way to understand what happened. As if suddenly everything I had believed about myself, about our relationship, changed in a single moment, in a single action. My stepbrother, Daniel, had always been close to me, but not in the way a stepbrother should be. We always shared laughs, secrets, and childhood memories, but all of that was always within family boundaries. No crossovers, no doubts. We weren't close in that way. That night, however, everything was different. It was a summer night. The heat was so unbearable that our parents, tired of the heat in their own rooms, decided to send us to sleep together, in the room we shared as children. The house was empty, and the sound of the fan spinning was the only thing that broke the silence. I was 20, and Daniel, a couple of years younger, 18, but he was always more mature for his age. That night, at first, seemed to be like any other. Are you liking the video so far? If so, leave us a like and subscribe. Let's keep going. The first contact was simple, a light caress on the back as we settled on the bed. At first, I thought it was normal, that the warmth of the closeness was just making us comfortable. But something changed when he moved his arm and accidentally touched my leg. I realized that my heart was beating faster, something wasn't right, but I couldn't figure it out. I looked at Daniel, and he was also looking at me with something in his eyes that I didn't know how to recognize, something that wasn't there before, something that made me feel uncomfortable, but at the same time intrigued. "Sorry, I didn't mean to," he said, but his voice sounded different, softer than usual. "It's okay," I replied with a forced smile, although my body reacted differently to my words. We were silent for a few seconds, both of us aware that something had changed, but neither of us mentioned it. The tension was building. The temperature in the room felt warmer than usual, but it wasn't just the physical warmth. It was the feeling that began to hang in the air, palpable and unavoidable. Suddenly, Daniel moved again, this time moving a little closer. I could feel his breath close to my ear, and his arm went over my torso, hugging me gently. Something inside me told me I should push him away, that this wasn't right, but I didn't do it. Instead, I closed my eyes, feeling his proximity increase my nervousness, but also something else. I couldn't tell what it was. I just knew that I was attracted to him in a way I didn't understand. His fingers brushed my chest, as if unintentionally exploring every nook and cranny of my skin. Something in me went out of control at that moment. I had never imagined I would feel anything for him, but there it was, desire, confusion, and attraction, all mixed in a single instant. I tensed at first, but I didn't pull his hand away. Rather, I stood still, not knowing what to do. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly, as if she too was struggling with what she was feeling. "Yes," I replied, but as I said it, I realized that I wasn't. It wasn't right, but I didn't want him to pull away either. Before we go on, we invite you to give us a like and subscribe. Let's continue. It was then that he leaned in a little closer, and his lips brushed my neck, gently at first, as if it was a mistake, but the next moment with more firmness, more intent. My heart beat faster, and my thoughts clouded. I wanted to stop it. I wanted to pull away, but I wouldn't. Instead, it was my hands that acted without thinking. It was an impulse, something that overcame me. I grabbed him by the face and kissed him. A kiss full of uncertainty, full of emotions that we didn't know how to handle, but that we both wanted. The kiss began to intensify. There were no words, no explanations, only the touch of our lips and hands that did not want to let go. The confusion turned into need, into something much deeper than I had imagined. We were exploring each other, discovering each other as if we were not step-siblings, but two people who had just met in the most unexpected way possible. So one thing led to another, and we ended up doing it passionately. It was too rich. When we finally separated, we were both breathing heavily. We didn't know what to do or how to continue. We both looked at each other in silence, as if trying to process what had happened. My mind was full of questions, of doubts. But what I felt most was fear. Fear of what this meant. Fear that our lives would change forever. But at the same time, there was something liberating about the fact that we could no longer turn back. "I don't know what to do," he said, his voice shaky, but his gaze was intense. "Me neither," I replied, with a mixture of confusion and fear. But something inside me, something deep inside, was telling me that I didn't want him to pull away, that I didn't want this moment to end. We lay there in silence for what seemed like an eternity. Then, slowly, Daniel lay back down on the bed, and I did the same. This time, without saying anything, we embraced. There were no more words, just the warmth of our bodies and the racing beat of our hearts. Don't forget to subscribe and like us for more content like this. Let's keep going. That night changed everything. From that moment on, the relationship between Daniel and I would never be the same. We realized that what had happened was not just an impulse, not just a mistake. There was something more between us, something we needed to explore, something we couldn't ignore. But at the time, neither of us was ready to face it fully. Dawn brought with it a strange feeling. We knew something had changed, but we didn't know what to make of it. Sometimes things happen without you looking for them. And sometimes, when you least expect it, everything changes in an instant. What happened with my stepbrother that night changed everything, and although we didn't know how to deal with what was coming next, we knew there was no turning back. That morning, when we woke up, everything seemed to be the same as before, but it was not. Sunlight was streaming softly through the window, illuminating our faces as we lay cuddled in the same bed. The air was charged with a mixture of sensations that neither of us knew how to handle. At first, everything seemed silent, as if time had stopped, but soon questions began to fill the air. I looked at Daniel, whose breathing was still calm, as if everything was normal. However, as he met my eyes, a shadow of doubt passed across his face. Neither of us knew what to say. We both felt that words could change everything, and at that moment, uncertainty enveloped us. "What do we do now?" finally asked Daniel, his voice low but charged with restrained emotion. I didn't know how to respond. I was completely lost. What had happened between us was not something I had planned or imagined, but now that it had happened, I could not ignore it. I had been carried away by the moment, by desire, by a need that seemed bigger than us. "I don't know," I replied, my voice cracking with confusion, "but I don't regret it." Daniel stared at me, as if he was looking for something in my eyes, something that would reassure him, but also something that would make him understand what it all meant. I realized that it wasn't just me who was struggling with what had happened, but him as well. Then, without thinking too much about it, I took his hand and placed it on my chest, feeling how his touch became more and more familiar, as if that proximity was no longer strange. I knew that what was between us went beyond simple attraction. We didn't know what we would do with it, but we were willing to find out together, even if we didn't know what the path would be like. If you liked the video and this content brought you value, leave us a like and share it with your friends so they don't miss it.